try and recognise where we may be a little bit more vulnerable, or actually we may be a little stronger. So can we amplify our super strength because of the way we're set up?
Sharon, I'll start with you. What does observation mean?
Good question. Observation, I think it's taking the time to recognise what's going on around you, and that's being able to have patience and time to just take in what's happening without any bias. So yeah, it's just looking. It's looking, watching, and sensing, I think. You sense as well when you observe, so it's not just with your eyes, you can feel what you're observing as well sometimes.
Got anything to add to that, Danny?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Sharon just said. I'll probably just add on to a little bit about the art of noticing as well. And it takes time, it takes experience when it comes to observation. So don't be worried if you don't see, in your first years of coaching, you don't see everything at once. It does take years to develop that art of noticing. But yeah, definitely what Sharon just said there.
What skills does a coach need to be effective at observing?
Patience. Yeah, not and also don't try and observe everything all at the same time. There's a lot of things happening on that pitch. So, try and carve that session up a bit. So I'm going to observe this and these 3 players for the session for the first 20 minutes today. And the rest of the session I'm maybe going to observe the general. Are they understanding the game? Is the game achieving what I want it to achieve with regards, am I giving enough opportunity for my players within the game to practice what I'm asking them to work on? So if it was 1v1s, have I designed a practice that is allowing that to happen? And if it isn't, then I need to apply step, maybe alter the space, maybe look at the players or tasks and lock them into certain areas so they have that before they can break through. So yes, it's about, I always think, always look at maybe 3 players in a week where you're going to give some real targeted development feedback, or maybe do some flybys where you can give them that little bit of extra information. And then the rest of the time, look at the practice that you're trying to get the outcomes of what you're trying to improve amongst your players. And then over 4 or 5 weeks, you should have been able then to really give some in-depth feedback to your players. If you see them once a week, obviously if you see them 3 times a week, then you've got more opportunity.
I think just linking what you just said there, Sharon, and a bit about the reflection as well. So if I am only coaching once a week, if I can reflect after the session, whether it be straight after or the day after, then I can reflect on what I observed within the session, and it can really have a deeper look into it. So that will help me for the next time I see the girls or see the boys when I train, is what am I going after next? What am I going to try and observe next? So having that chance to just reflect, sit back and relax, and that's really hard. And understand as grassroots coaches as well that you probably don't get that time, but if you can get 5 to 10 minutes just to reflect after your session, that'll give you a better opportunity to have a read of your notes. This is what I reflected on. This is what I'm going to go after for the next session. I've got a top tip, and I can't take this as my own. I've nicked it from Matt Jones, so you can get a bit of credit for that. The hat-trick rule. So he uses this methodology, which I've taken on, and I think it's great for grassroots coaches, and it's been great for myself. And it's basically 3 seconds of looking at the player's body language and see how it is. So again, if I use the example of receiving to play forward, and the player makes a mistake, so they're not able to receive to play forward, look at their body language. Their body language might be okay. So just have a look at that for 3 seconds, have a look, see if they're up or they're down before you try to go and intervene or make an intervention. And then you will have a look at it and you go, all right, give them 3 attempts to do it. And then, do you know what, after the 3rd attempt, they might be able to do that receiving to play forward without actually you going to stepping in. And the 3rd bit is having that 3 minutes to go, shut up, Dan, don't say anything during the session. I'm just going to observe little Sarah receiving to play forward, looking at 3 seconds of her body language, giving her 3 attempts to do it, but then after that, giving her 3 minutes just to go and play before I might just go in and do that intervention. So that's a good tip in terms of observation skills.
And that's where step is so fundamental in I think that's, as a coach, once you've got your game, you're watching to see what aspects of step can you then apply to the same game to allow you to develop each and every player in front of you, rather than what's another game now to develop the next thing. What can we do? How can I change the task so one of my players develops more 1v1 opportunities? How can I develop control, maybe by applying the space? How can I give more time to make my session more inclusive to some of my players who are finding it difficult when they're not given time on the ball? Can I have some blocked in wings where they have 3 seconds before they're pressured on the ball? So I think as a coach, and I always say this when I'm at a CPD, you are the expert because they're your players, not other coaches. You're the expert because you know the players in front of you and you know when they're enjoying it. And doesn't mean it doesn't have to be challenging, but you're going to share the practice and give the feedback to your players in a way that they enjoy the challenges in front of them.
Would there be similar top tips for observing on a match day, or do you kind of have a different approach that's maybe more learning objective observation?
Yeah, for match day, for me, it's all about what did we do on Tuesday. And I was always told that if you can imagine the match day as the test, so when you get to that GCSE, do they do GCSEs anymore?
Yeah.
They do, yeah. I'm always hard.
Levels 1 to 9.
Okay, yeah. You don't really get any help or support during the test, but it's that before the test bit is where you get the help and support, and this is where we're crucial. But if we can observe them through the match and see if any of those learning objectives, so I use that same learning focus again, receiving to play forward, and if we're able to do that a few times within the game, and you as a coach has been able to observe that and say, see what, Sarah, in that first period, there were 3 times you were able to receive to play forward and you were able to scan, you was in a great position, your technique was excellent because you allowed the ball to go across your body into play. I think right there, they're ticking that box within the test without them actually knowing. You're not grading them, you're not giving them the 1 to 9 or the A to Ds. But you're giving them scope for then to lead on to the next match and to the next test.
How can someone on their own with limited technology, like what technology and techniques could they use to make sure that they're observing still?
For me, I think there's two. Decide what you are observing. Are you observing individual players, or are you observing how you're playing as well? Because that's one's a wider lens and then one's a smaller lens, and I always try and have both in each game. So I think it's really important. I used to just have a printout of a football pitch sometimes, and I might put where we've lost possession and where we win possession, or where they win possession and we lose possession. So I might just tally that, see what part of the pitch it is. It might be that I might try and recognise what formation they're playing against our formation, just to try and recognise where we may be a little bit more vulnerable, or actually we may be a little stronger. So can we amplify our super strength because of the way we're set up, which is usually the way I go, rather than trying to stop others playing. I rather want to persuade ours we can play really well if we play this way. I suppose it's about when you do recognise something, sometimes putting it on a whiteboard so you can share it with the players. Because if you just remember it and then try and explain it without showing a visual, it's very hard for those players to sort of see that lens. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think if I haven't got parental support to help us in with, doing the stats for us, or someone doing the video, I think just using your own personal resourcefulness. And again, we coached on a Tuesday night. I've got either the tactic board or I've got the session plan on an A4 piece of paper or a little notepad that I will take to the match day, and then I can reflect and observe on that particular session that I've done and show to the players. And that's a simple way as well. And it's trying not to really overcomplicate it, because again, it's once it kicks off, especially on that match day, you can't stop it. You could hardly really affect it while the ball's moving. It's all about the player's decisions. So it's just that bit in and around that personal resourcefulness. What have you got already? Just use it. And are they having fun? Yeah. Are they learning through it? Yeah. Are they trying to shield themselves free from the rain and the cold? Yeah, because weather conditions to come in play. All that other stuff that comes with it. It's just make it as simple as you can. Yeah. But there are really good stuff out there, like the iPads. I know that, you know, you get some systems where every time a player touches the ball, you just press it and it brings their stats up to how many times they received the ball or their goals. I know the FA Match Day app, it's got all of that stuff, like how many goals that they scored, how many assists that they've got, and all of that stuff. And it's absolutely brilliant. But let's get it right, who's got a bit of time to do all of that stuff? So there is really good stuff out there, but just try and keep it as simple as you can.
Yeah, and I think as well, depending on the age group and what level you're working at, but again, every player needs to feel that they've been observed and watched and developed. So try to make sure that over the 3 weeks you are giving some positive feedback during the match to all those players, not just the same players. And try and think of the language you use when you have observed something, so that it's always said in a positive way. So like we always say, play forward rather than don't go back. You know, try and think, what can you say positively, so then it's in their mind. Because I think language is really key sometimes, of how you say it and on what you say.